Hello, thank you for joining us. I want us to talk about this. Just remove my eyeglasses to see clearly and to give you a better understanding of what we are focusing tonight. This is important because I see something striking, and I don't know how you see it, how you feel it, but then this is actually I can't just believe what I'm saying here in the Quran. This is an account of how man, human being, was created. And from what we've seen in the Quran, in the Quranic account, there are so many things that happened and that is responsible for how man came about. Unlike the Quran, in the Bible, according to Genesis chapter 2, verse number 7, specifically did say that God created man in his image and likeness. And therefore, God fetched the sand of the ground and he molded it. He fashioned out a man and he breathed in the breath of life, which is his spirit. And a man became a living being. So we basically know from the presentation in the Bible that God uses about two elements to form a man. One is that he used the sand, which is the ground. He fetched the sand and then he molded the sand and then he breathed in his likeness, his spirit, his life, and a man became a human being. So you see, life or the spirit of God and the ground formed a man according to the biblical account. Now, the Quran tells us more than that. Let's go into it properly. But then before we get down to business, kindly share this, click the subscription button, and then follow us on all our platforms for more update on subjects that are of significance to you and to your soul as well, because this is important for you to know what and where you are going in the thereafter, as heaven is our goal. Thank you for watching. Now let's dive into business properly. According to Surah 30 of the Quran, verse 20, and Surah 3 of the Quran, verse 59, it tells us that man was formed from the dust, which literally goes in line with the account of the Bible in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. There is no problem to that because it is in agreement. It simply means that these two verses have confirmed what the Bible have said. Remember, the Quran came for confirmation. So whatever the Quran is saying, it must agree to the Bible so that it can be now called a confirmation. But wherever the Quran disagrees with the Bible, the Quran must then be discarded because it came after the Bible and it claimed to come and confirm what the Bible said, not to correct. In fact, even Jesus said, I do not come to abolish the law, according to Matthew 5:17. So Jesus, who came and said by himself that even him cannot and will not abolish what the previous scriptures have to say about God, which shows the consistency of the God of the Bible. And therefore, if the Quran claims to come and confirm, it will just be hallelujah. But should we see the Quran in any sense saying something different or opposing the Bible, we will now take a second look at the Quran and reject it because it must not conflict the Bible as it were. Now, those two verses, like I've quoted, of the Quran agrees to the Bible account that man or human being was made and was created from the dust. Though the Quran did not give details, like the Bible explained in details of how man was fashioned out breathed in life and he became a living being. The Quran didn't give that account. However, since it comes for confirmation, that's what it said. It's okay if it stops there. So, but then we go further to read the Quran and only to find out that in Surah 15 of the Quran, verse 26, is telling us here that no, a man was not actually created from the dust, but he was made from the clay. Clay and dust are actually two different things, even by their wordings. However, it could be logically explained away if this verse is saying that Allah, in fetching sand and the dust and molding it with whatever, because for the sand to become clear, there must be moisture, there must be water, there must be liquid to put together the sand and then mold it into clear. So if the word clear is used, which suggests that there was an additional third element that could have been put together by Allah or by God in forming a man. So literally here, we can only assume maybe water was the liquid used or something different. We don't know, and we can't just assume what is not stated in the Quran or even in the Bible. So, but here, since the word clear emerges, then it suggests a third element, which we had earlier on identified two: dust and the Spirit of God that forms a man. But here we have clear. The dust is not even mentioned in this verse, neither the Spirit of God is mentioned, but clear, only clear, that was mentioned to have been used by Allah to create a man. You see? Anyway, somebody may say it is just a linguistic or a semantic problem, but that is more than that, because we are talking about a God who knows the end from the beginning, who is supposed to be the truth, who is Alpha and Omega, who knows everything. So, and he knows the language and the meaning of each and every word he used. Remember, the Quran is the speech of Allah, word for word. So any choice of word in the Quran, it is assumed to have come from Allah directly, which means Allah knows the meaning and knows the implication or knows the synonyms of those languages that he is using to communicate his message. So that is why we have a problem with it, because it comes from Allah directly. If it was a human being's effort, then we can excuse it and say, oh no, men are prone to make mistakes. Human beings can fall apart, can make mistakes. But since it's from Allah, then we have a problem, because Allah must uphold his integrity, must be reliable enough, and must be trustworthy for us to stick on him. That is that. So now, it does not only stop there. As we continue reading down to the Quran, we find in Surah 37 verse 11 and Surah 55 verse 14, where Allah is saying, actually, what happened in the course of creation was I used sticky clay and mud. So these two words are now added. Sticky, the clay was not even clay as normal clay, but it was a sticky one, and a mud put together. So, which still means that the additional element is also here. We've got about three elements, but one was added. We've got a dust that was turned into clay, and which was added with water, and therefore it makes it muddy, and it later turns to sticky. It turns sticky. So, so it becomes three things together. And then, which makes it, like I said, three element. dust, water, and clay, which turns sticky. So 3 elements are now added together, making a man into what he was. So you see, can we say it was a progressive, creative act of mankind that Allah took all this while this process to do it? Or was it a choice of word for Allah by Allah? Could Allah be mistaking words and their meanings? Can Allah actually make a mistake? Or is he deceiving us like he used to? Because we see in chapter 4 of the Quran, verse 141 and 42 rather, Allah is saying and is deceiving the polytheists. Allah deceived people, not just misguide. Because we read in chapter 14, verse 4, where Allah leads astray whom he wills and guides right whom he wants. And we have also seen in chapter 3, verse 54, where Allah do deceived people. So can it be that Allah is also deceiving people as to how the creation of man came about? Because let it make sense. What exactly is Allah saying here? Because I'm sure Allah should be aware and should know what he is saying, because he is Allah and should know everything. So why is he using different things to explain how the creation of man came about? Now, you can see later on, we also see a couple of other things. Surah 21 verse 30, it said, no, a man was actually created from water. And Surah 96 verse 2, it said, no, a man was created from blood, the clot of blood. Whose blood? Because God or Allah does not have flesh and blood. So therefore, he could not have blood, since he does not have this kind of body. And we know all other beings, including angels, are all spirit beings. They does not have a body like ours. So how can they have a blood? And which blood did Allah use? Whose blood did Allah use to create a man from? In fact, in another verse, they did say actually he created man from sperm. We wonder whose sperm was used to create a man from. So these are things that basically call to attention as to who is the speaker in the Quran and what exactly the speaker in the Quran is aiming at and is trying to make us believe or understand about his person, his character, and what we can trust in him. So looking at this, I just want to remind you that your soul is very important. Your life is so essential to your choice, and it solely depends on what you will want for yourself. So like Joshua will say, choose whom you shall serve. I repeat here to say that you have the right and the time and the opportunity and the intelligence, having listened to others, to choose for yourself what exactly do you believe on. Who should you serve? Is it the God of the Quran in the person of Allah with this kind of attribute and character, kind of nature-wise, or is it the God of Bible in person of Christ, whom you need to submit your life to and be saved forever? Thank you for your time. Like I always encourage, heaven is our goal. Choose for yourself and kindly share this video. Comment your opinion and then give us your feedback to know what we should do, how to do it better. Or if you have questions or even debate, like, you're welcome to ask us to support you in all forms. Thank you very much until we hear from you. Bye for now.